Evelyn Stokes sees a young black woman in first class and assumes she's made a mistake. Another seat to reclaim. Another lesson in knowing your place. But what she doesn't know, that woman is Dr. Maya Carter, CEO of Genesis Technologies and a game-changer for the airline industry. Stick around, because when the cameras roll and #platinum privilege erupts online, Evelyn's diamond pin won't open doors, it'll slam them shut. Justice isn't just trending, it's landing hard. And hey, tell us where you're watching from and what time. Drop it in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any videos. Evelyn Stokes glided through the first-class cabin, her diamond-studded platinum elite pin catching the harsh fluorescent lights like a beacon of superiority. 15 years of privilege had taught her that the world bent to her will, especially here in first class, especially in seat 1A. Her seat, her territory. The sight of the young black woman sitting there, calmly reviewing documents on her laptop, sent a surge of indignation through Evelyn's perfectly composed frame. She gripped her Hermes bag tighter, its expensive leather creaking beneath her manicured fingers, as she signaled the flight attendant with a practiced flick of her wrist. "There must be some mistake," Evelyn announced, her voice pitched to carry across the cabin. She watched with satisfaction as other passengers turned to observe the coming spectacle. "I always sit in 1A. Always." Her fingers instinctively rose to touch her status pin, a gesture that had intimidated countless service workers before. The young woman looked up, her expression maddeningly serene. Something about that calm demeanor made Evelyn's blood boil. How dare she act so entitled? Evelyn leaned forward, deliberately invading the woman's space, close enough to catch the scent of expensive perfume that rivaled her own. "Perhaps you've wandered into the wrong cabin," Evelyn suggested, her tone dripping with false concern. The familiar rush of power surged through her as she watched the flight attendant approach. This would be resolved quickly, as it always was. These things happen to people who aren't familiar with first-class protocols. The flight attendant arrived, his name tag reading James. Before he could speak, Evelyn thrust her boarding pass forward. "Platinum Elite," she reminded him, though her pin spoke volumes already. 15 years. This seat has practically been named after me." A passenger several rows back had their phone out, recording. Evelyn noticed, but didn't care. Let them record her defending what was rightfully hers. The hashtag first-class fight would probably trend, and people would see how these entitled young people needed to be put in their place. From row 2, a passenger whispered, "She's toast." Across the aisle, a young man muttered, "Platinum privilege is about to blow up." Near the window, a flight attendant murmured under her breath, "About time someone put her in her place." "Ms. Stokes," James began, his voice carrying an unusual note of hesitation that made Evelyn's confidence waver slightly. "I need to inform you that—" "That's Dr. Carter," the young woman interrupted quietly, finally speaking. "CEO of Genesis Technologies, and this is my assigned seat." Maya's gaze met Evelyn's. "Mrs. Stokes, it was never the seat you were defending. It was your illusion of superiority." Evelyn's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Maya's voice remained calm. Intent doesn't erase impact. The cabin fell silent, except for the soft whir of the air conditioning. Evelyn's perfectly maintained smile froze as she noticed more phones being raised, more cameras pointing her way. Her status pin suddenly felt heavy, like a weight rather than a badge of honor. "Have you ever wondered, Ms. Stokes," Dr. Carter continued, her voice carrying easily in the hushed cabin, What happens when someone mistakes their privilege for their identity? Evelyn's hand flew to her pin again, but this time it wasn't a gesture of confidence. It was more like a drowning person clutching at a life preserver. The first seeds of doubt crept into her mind as she saw James's expression, heard the murmurs from other passengers, felt the weight of countless camera lenses focused on her. Type privilege check if you've ever witnessed someone's status symbol become their downfall. Standing in the aisle of Flight 237, Evelyn Stokes faced a question she'd never considered in 15 years of first-class travel. What happens when the power you thought was permanent turns out to be as transient as the clouds outside? Her diamond-studded pin caught the light one more time, but now it felt less like a beacon and more like a spotlight, exposing everything she'd rather keep hidden. The gentle click of Dr. Carter's laptop closing echoed through the cabin like a judge's gavel, and Evelyn Stokes, Platinum Elite passenger for 15 years, felt her carefully constructed world begin to tremble beneath her Louboutin heels. Officer Bradley Larson stared at his reflection in the break room mirror, adjusting his badge for the 100th time that day. 4 hours had passed since the incident, and something felt different, wrong. His phone buzzed again, another notification about the viral video. Larson Falls was gaining momentum, and for the first time in his 15-year career, his authority felt fragile. The memory of his mentor, Captain James Morrison, echoed in his mind. Power isn't just about the badge, Bradley. It's about making them believe you're untouchable. He'd lived by those words, wielded them like a shield. But now, as he scrolled through the mounting evidence of his past transgressions surfacing online, that shield was cracking. His fingers trembled slightly as he opened the department's internal database. Complaint after complaint, previously buried, now glowed accusingly on his screen. Similar patterns, identical power plays, all documented, all dismissed. The Harvard study on institutional bias he'd dismissed last month now felt like a prophecy. Systems of unchecked authority create cycles of abuse. Looking for something specific, Larson? Lieutenant Chen's voice cut through his thoughts. She stood in the doorway, her expression unreadable. He quickly closed the database, but her slight headshake told him she'd seen enough. Another ally, slipping away. The weight of his badge pressed against his chest like a burning coal. He found himself unconsciously tracing its edges, remembering how many times he'd polished it before that morning's confrontation. Just reviewing some old cases, he muttered, but his voice lacked its usual confidence. Have you ever felt your foundation crack? Type crumbling if you've watched your certainties dissolve. His phone buzzed again. A message from the police union representative. Meeting tomorrow. Bring all documentation. The words blurred as his mind raced to the dozens of similar incidents he'd engineered over the years. Each one a perfect execution of power, or so he'd thought. Now they formed a damning pattern, a noose of his own making. The break room coffee turned bitter in his mouth as he remembered Captain Morrison's other lesson. The system protects its own. But the trending hashtag told a different story. Social media had created a new system, one where his carefully constructed walls of authority were transparent, fragile. Scientific studies flashed through his mind. Research papers about power dynamics in law enforcement that he'd dismissed as liberal propaganda. When authority goes unchecked, it breeds a cognitive disconnect between action and consequence. He'd laughed at those words during sensitivity training. Now they haunted him. A junior officer entered the break room, then immediately turned and left. News traveled fast in the department. The isolation was beginning. just as he'd seen happen to others before him. But those officers had been weak, he'd told himself. They'd made mistakes. He was different, wasn't he? His hand shook as he reached for his phone again. The video had reached national news networks. His face, contorted with authority and rage, played on repeat. Each replay revealed something new. The tremble in his voice, the flash of uncertainty in his eyes when the truth was revealed. Signs he hadn't noticed in the moment but now screamed at him from every screen. The corridor outside fell silent as he emerged from the break room. Colleagues who usually greeted him with respect now found reasons to study their phones or shuffle papers. His footsteps echoed in the artificial quiet, each step carrying the weight of his crumbling empire. Have you watched your power slip away? Share this story if you've felt the ground shift beneath your feet. In his office, the wall of commendations seemed to mock him now. Each plaque and certificate, were they earned or merely granted by a system as corrupted as he was? The question burned in his throat like acid, forcing him to confront truths he'd spent years burying. The badge felt heavier with each passing minute. 6 hours since the incident, and already his world was unraveling. He caught his reflection in his office window, still wearing the same expression of authority, but now he could see what everyone else saw. Fear disguised as power, uncertainty masked by aggression. Officer Bradley Larson's hands trembled as he opened his personnel file. It was time to face what he'd become, one documented incident at a time. The truth waited there, in black and white, telling a story he wasn't sure he was ready to read. Evelyn Stokes felt her perfectly curated world tilting sideways as she stood in the crowded first-class aisle, her designer carry-on becoming a dead weight beside her. The woman, that woman, who had refused to vacate seat 1A, continued speaking quietly into her phone, each calm word feeling like a hammer blow to Evelyn's carefully constructed reality. Yes, Marcus, I understand the board meeting starts in 3 hours. I'll be there. The woman's voice carried authority without effort, something Evelyn had always tried to manufacture through her platinum elite status and carefully chosen designer suits. Evelyn's manicured fingers unconsciously reached for her status pin, her most precious possession that had always opened doors, solved problems, commanded respect. But now, as she touched its cool metal surface, it seemed to burn against her chest. The familiar weight felt different, accusatory rather than reassuring. She noticed a young man in row 2 holding his phone at an odd angle. Was he recording? The realization hit her like Arctic wind. This wasn't just a private embarrassment anymore. Her throat tightened as she saw another passenger typing furiously on their phone. The hashtag #platinum privilege flashed briefly on their screen before they tilted it away. Mrs. Stokes? A voice behind her made her jump. She turned to find not the captain she'd demanded, but 2 sharp-suited individuals wearing corporate badges. We're from airline management. Would you please come with us? The status pin seemed to grow heavier with each passing second. Evelyn's fingers trembled as she smoothed her silk blouse, a gesture that had always steadied her nerves before. Not today. Today, it felt like arranging deck chairs on the Titanic. Movement caught her eye. More passengers were recording now. The whispers grew louder. That's Maya Carter, the new CEO of... Did you see how she demanded? Can't believe she tried to... Evelyn's carefully applied makeup couldn't hide the flush creeping up her neck. She'd started this confrontation expecting the usual deference, the familiar dance of privilege and power. Instead, she was watching her reputation dissolve in real time, captured in dozens of phone cameras, probably already spreading across social media like wildfire. Have you ever felt your world crumble in slow motion? Watched as the very symbols of your success transform into evidence against you? Evelyn's status pin, once her shield, now felt like a target on her chest. The corporate representatives waited expectantly. Through the first-class cabin windows, Evelyn could see more airline staff gathering at the jet bridge. This wasn't the discreet resolution she'd anticipated. This was becoming a very public reckoning. Her phone buzzed. A notification. With trembling fingers, she opened it to find her name trending. The video had already gone viral, her demands playing out in high-definition clarity for the world to judge. Comments flooded in, each one a nail in the coffin of her carefully curated image. "Mrs. Stokes, please come with us now." The corporate representative's voice was firm, professional, but held none of the respect she was accustomed to. As Evelyn finally moved to follow them, her status pin caught the overhead light, gleaming one last time before she unconsciously covered it with her hand, as if to hide the very thing she'd once flaunted so proudly. Type "falling" in the comments if you've ever watched your privileges crumble before your eyes. The walk of shame down the aisle felt endless. Each step echoed with the sound of her own entitlement coming home to roost, while Maya Carter's voice continued behind her, steady and assured, closing another multi-million-dollar deal as if Evelyn's entire world wasn't imploding around her. My hands tremble as I clutch the Platinum Elite pin that has defined my identity for the past decade. Security officers approach with deliberate steps, their footfalls hammering against the aircraft's carpet like a countdown to my downfall. I, Evelyn Stokes, who has flown over 2 million miles with this airline, am being treated like a common criminal. "Ma'am, we need you to gather your belongings and come with us." The words slice through my carefully constructed world. I glance at my reflection in the darkened window, my perfectly coiffed hair now disheveled, mascara tracking down my cheeks. Behind me, Maya Carter sits in my seat, 1A, her composed demeanor only intensifying my humiliation. "This is outrageous! Do you know who I am?" My voice cracks, betraying the panic beneath my rage. The gleam of dozens of phone cameras catches my eye. They're all recording, all witnessing my disgrace. The flight attendant who's served me countless times on this route now won't meet my gaze. Deborah and Greg, my fellow elite members who stood by me, are being escorted down the aisle. Their abandonment stings worse than the security officer's firm grip on my arm. "We didn't do anything wrong," Deborah whimpers, but her words sound hollow even to my ears. My phone buzzes incessantly, notifications flooding in. With trembling fingers, I open Twitter, and my heart stops. Karen, in first class, is trending nationwide. The video of my earlier confrontation with Maya Carter has over 2 million views. "Entitled passenger demands Black CEO's seat," reads the caption. The comments are brutal, merciless. Like if you want to see her platinum status revoked. 50,000 likes and counting. My chest tightens as I scroll through my own history of complaints, now being shared across social media. Dozens of flight attendants coming forward with stories. Years of demanding special treatment, of insisting on upgrades, of calling corporate when things didn't go my way, all laid bare for the world to see. As security guides me toward the exit, Maya Carter's words echo in my head. "My seat assignment isn't a mistake, Mrs. Stokes. Your assumption that it was, that's the real issue here." The jet bridge feels endless. Each step takes me further from the first-class cabin that has been my second home. My Platinum Elite pin catches the fluorescent light one last time before I drop it into my purse, its weight suddenly unbearable. Type "Elite no more" if you believe status doesn't equal superiority. In the terminal, crowds part like the Red Sea, phones raised, documenting my walk of shame. The trending hashtag has evolved. Elite. Privilege. Falls is now #1 worldwide. My carefully curated world of premium travel perks and priority treatment crumbles with each newfound viral clip of my past behavior. A notification pops up. Your Platinum Elite status has been suspended pending investigation. The airline's statement is already being shared thousands of times. We stand against discrimination in all forms. No level of loyalty status excuses prejudiced behavior. Standing in the terminal, where I've spent countless hours enjoying exclusive lounge access, I finally understand. My status had become my identity, my privilege a weapon. As police officers approach to take statements, reality crashes down. My next flight won't be in first class. It might not be on any airline at all. The viral moment that will define my legacy isn't about losing a seat. It's about watching my carefully constructed world of entitlement shatter in real time, broadcast for all to see. Maya Carter's quiet dignity in seat 1A becomes the perfect contrast to my very public undoing. Evelyn Stokes stares at her phone screen, watching the Platinum Elite status bar dissolve into nothing. The terminal's harsh fluorescent lights feel like an interrogation lamp, exposing every privilege she'd weaponized just hours before. Her reflection in the vast airport windows shows a woman she barely recognizes, no longer the imperious frequent flyer who'd demanded seat 1A, but someone stripped bare of her artificial armor. The diamond pin on her lapel catches the light, mocking her with its final glitter. Evelyn Stokes's fingers trace its familiar edges, remembering how she'd polished it obsessively before each flight, flashing it like a badge of superiority. Now it feels heavy with shame, weighted by the millions of views on her viral meltdown. Stokes. Meltdown continues trending, each notification a fresh reminder of her spectacular fall. And here's the woman who thought first class was for certain people only. A passing passenger whispers to their companion, phone raised surreptitiously. Evelyn Stokes's cheeks burn as she recognizes her own words played back in countless TikTok videos, each one worse than the last. Her voice, distorted by entitlement and prejudice, sounds alien to her now. Do you know who I am? I've been Platinum Elite for 15 years. The airline's official statement plays on the terminal news screens. Following yesterday's incident involving former Elite member Evelyn Stokes, we're announcing comprehensive reforms to our frequent flyer program. She watches as Maya Carter, now appointed to the airline's new Passenger Dignity Board, outlines changes that will reshape air travel culture. The same seat she'd tried to claim through intimidation has become a symbol of transformation. Evelyn Stokes's phone buzzes with another notification. Her corporate LinkedIn profile has been updated. Former Senior Vice President. Her fingers tremble as she opens the airline's app one last time, watching her accumulated miles reset to 0. The mathematical representation of her privilege disappears in a simple system update. It was never about the seat, Evelyn Stokes whispers to herself, finally understanding. She reaches up and unpins the diamond emblem, its weight in her palm representing decades of entitlement. Walking to the nearest trash bin, she holds it over the opening. It was about power I never deserved. Type transform if you've ever witnessed privilege crumbling into wisdom. The diamond pin drops with a metallic ping, disappearing among coffee cups and crumpled boarding passes. On the screens above, the training video begins its loop again, her moment of shame now immortalized in corporate education, her actions a lesson in what not to be. In the reflection of the terminal window, Evelyn Stokes sees something new replacing the entitlement in her eyes, the beginning of understanding. "Miss Stokes?" A young flight attendant approaches, holding a tablet. "Your coach ticket to Chicago is ready." There's no malice in her voice, just professional courtesy. Evelyn Stokes accepts the boarding pass with humbled hands, noticing it reads, "Seat 32B, middle seat, main cabin." Share this video if you believe one moment of accountability can change an entire system. As she walks toward the security line like any other passenger, Evelyn Stokes feels the weight of her former status fall away. Above her, the terminal screens show Maya Carter announcing the airline's new Dignity First initiative, while in Evelyn's pocket, her phone continues to buzz with the hashtag she created through her own downfall. She takes her place in the regular security line. No priority access, no special lane. For the first time, she sees the airport for what it truly is. Not a hierarchy to be conquered, but a shared space where every traveler deserves equal dignity.